I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about Henry Triple C Cejudo gives Israel Adesanya three important pointers to defeat the Francis Ngannou of the middleweight division, current middleweight champion Alex Pereira. 5 months on from a difficult night at Madison Square Garden in New York City, Israel Adesanya is just hours away from his shot at redemption versus Alex Pereira in the UFC 281 main event last November 2022. Israel Adesanya lengthy and dominant reign atop the UFC middleweight mountain division was brought to a crushing halt at the hands of Alex Pereira in the fifth round of that fight, while the last stylebender, Israel Adesanya, was just minutes away from a sixth successful title defense. He fell victim to the thunderous power of Putan Pereira, something Israel Adesanya is all too familiar with, having met the same fate in their 2017 kickboxing match. So Israel Adesanya is 0-3. He lost his first fight. Israel Adesanya lost the first fight to Pereira in kickboxing. It was a decision. The second fight in kickboxing, Israel Adesanya actually got knocked out cold in the second round. And then the third fight was in MMA, and Pereira defeated Israel Adesanya in the fifth round via a TKO. Given his emphatic rule over the weight class from 2019 through 2022, the announcement of an immediate rematch was no surprise, and it will be the main event at UFC 287 pay-per-view in Miami this weekend. Ahead of the Buckster contest, which marks the pair's Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira's fourth fight across two different combat sports, predictions have varied. While many have pointed to Israel Adesanya's success through the majority of the rounds they fought together to back a return to the throne, others simply feel that Pereira has Israel Adesanya's number. I mean, he's 3-0 versus him, of course. Now, one former two-division champion has outlined three ways in which Israel Adesanya can prove that he can beat Alex Pereira. Henry Cejudo calls for Israel Adesanya to fight smart during a recent video uploaded to his YouTube channel. Go and check out Henry Cejudo's YouTube channel, of course. Former UFC bantamweight and flyweight contender and number one contender to the bantamweight fight, Henry Cejudo will be fighting Aljamain Sterling at UFC 288. Henry Cejudo broke down Israel Adesanya's path to victory against Pereira, who leads 3-0 in their combat sports series. Similar to the opening rounds of their first MMA fight, Triple C advised Israel Adesanya to use his speed and movement to outpoint Alex Pereira. Okay, that's interesting. The 2008 Olympic gold medalist also called for the the last stylebender Adesanya to bring his grappling to the table in order to exploit an area of the Brazilian's game that is largely inexperienced and untested. Finally, Henry Cejudo spoke of the importance of fight IQ with regards to Israel Adesanya game plan, specifically in terms of knowing when to commit with his offense and when to hold back. I do believe that Israel Adesanya could win. I believe the same thing. If Israel fights smart, Henry Cejudo said, there's a couple ways and a couple areas that Israel could use to eventually win the fight. One is going to be his point fighting. I totally agree with Henry about that one. Don't turn it into a slugfest with this guy, of course. Don't throw it into a slugfest with this guy who's the Francis Ngannou of your weight class, the middleweight division. A guy that has a crazy hook, has a crazy right and left hook. I know he's known for his left hook. I didn't know he was known for his right hook. And knows how to kick. That's very important. People are underestimating Pereira's ability to kick. If I was your coach, there's two options. I point fight, I win the distant game, I change my stance, I use my speed because you are faster than this man, or two, I bring in a surprise of the arsenal of wrestling. This is where I totally disagree with him because you did have 6 minutes and 32 seconds of control time. That's really, yeah. In a 25-minute fight, I know it seems like a lot. It seems like, okay, that's over one round, but control time is not really something I'm going to go too crazy with. Cejudo continued, this is where the IQ comes in. This is where the competitor meets the fighter. This is where the fighter needs to become a better competitor than he is a fighter. Know when to pull back, know when to pull the trigger, know when to hold. Is there anything else? This is like the longest article in the world. Okay, so Henry Cejudo is he's kind of my guy. I really like the guy. I really do. I respect his opinion. I really do. I know he likes to troll, and I respect him trolling. I love when he trolls. He does a great job trolling. He really does. But when he like talks just normal, Henry Cejudo, talking game plan, talking MMA, he just literally just speaks facts. Like he really is a intelligent, smart guy. Like you can't deny the kid knows what he's talking about. But the one part, I totally agree with the point fighting. I think he's right. That keep your distance, strike with Pereira. Don't do the clinching. If you're going to do the point fight, this is where I disagree with him. Because if you're going to do the point fighting, I don't think you should try the wrestling fighting, right? When you wrestle, you have to realize Israel Adesanya has never defeated anyone in the UFC because of his wrestling. And everyone likes to talk how bad Alex Pereira's wrestling is. And that's fine. But Alex Pereira is not fighting a wrestler, right? Like if he's fighting a wrestler, then it would be easy to say, hey, go and use your wrestling. It's almost like telling a wrestler, like, hey, you know what you should do with Alex Pereira? Strike with him, right? Like he's not a great striker, strike with him. It's just like Israel Adesanya is not a wrestler. Alex Pereira is a big boy. He's a big boy. So if you're going to tell Israel Adesanya, who I think barely weighed I think he weighed like 200 pounds, like 202 pounds in a light heavyweight fight, Alex Pereira is going to weigh more than that on fight night versus Israel Adesanya in the middleweight. Alex Pereira is a big boy. Like he'll cut down to 185, but on fight night, he's going to be, over 200, right? I think some people say that he walks around like 210, 220. There's whispers of him, going up to the heavyweight division. Alex Pereira offered to fight Chimaev, who's a welterweight in the light heavyweight division. Alex Pereira's coaches are now putting it out there that, he may go up to the heavyweight division. So he's a big boy. So if you're going to tell, Israel Adesanya, who's not a wrestler, right? Like, hey, you're a great striker, but don't really strike with this guy because Alex Pereira's wrestling isn't that great, that you try to become a wrestler. I think it's going to take a lot away from Israel's striking ability, right? Because he's going to tire himself out. Alex Pereira is a big boy. Israel Adesanya did not have much success trying to wrestle Jan Blachowicz, and obviously Jan Blachowicz wrestling is, it's great. It's pretty good, right? But it's, if you can't take down a big boy like Jan Blachowicz, he's gonna not have as much success, trying to take down Alex Pereira. And then you have to also take into the fact that Alex Pereira defeated Israel Adesanya in their first fight in MMA. Right? So all that 6 minutes of ground control, he could have 21 minutes, right? He could have 24 minutes of ground control. But the problem is that the fight, the rounds start on your feet. And if Israel Adesanya can't get into the clinch and take Alex Pereira down, they're going to be standing. And if Alex Pereira connects with Israel in the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth round, we know he could finish Israel Adesanya in the fifth round. So if he finished Israel Adesanya in their first fight, right? And in the first fight, it happened in the fifth round, right? And you're telling me, well, the first second, third, and fourth round, he had a combined 6 minutes of ground control, right? Like he was controlled. Like, what do you want him to have? 12 minutes of ground control, right? Like, I mean, like he already tried that game plan. That didn't work because Alex Pereira is a big boy, and when you strike with him, you run the risk of getting knocked out, right? So I like the idea of point fighting, karate fighting, touch him, touch him, touch him, distance, circle, stay away from him. Right, like if you can just literally I'm not obviously I wouldn't that wouldn't be my actual game plan, right? Like, but in a sense, right? The idea of going in a clinch with Pereira's a big boy, man, with Israel Adesanya, and at the end of the day, man, like this is not for everybody in the middleweight division. There's a lot of middleweights, who could go out there and take Alex Pereira down. If you're Robert Whitaker, I wouldn't recommend point fighting with, I would say get in the clinch, take him down, ground control, beat him up, right? But that's not Israel Adesanya's game, right? Like if you could point to one fight where Israel Adesanya won a UFC fight by wrestling, then I'd shut up. But I don't see him all of a sudden going into this fight and saying, well, I got knocked out in the first fight. Now I'm gonna become a wrestler, right? Isn't that what Nate Diaz said? Like, oh, we're wrestling now or something like that. I believe that when Conor McGregor shot for the takedown, he's like, oh, really? That's what you're gonna try? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like if Pereira, sprawls, gets up, hits Israel with a left hook, that whole wrestling game plan is gonna go out of the window. But let me know your opinion of this story. Like I said, I'm not disagreeing with Henry Cejudo at all. I agree with him. I totally agree. If I was, your coach, there's two options. One, point fight. Win the distance game, change the stance, use my speed because you're faster. That's where I totally agree with him. But I don't think he could point fight and wrestling, or even I just don't think the second point. I don't think Israel Adesanya could win this fight by wrestling Alex Pereira. I just don't think that's gonna happen. Like you said, if he had 6 minutes in the first fight, and the first fight only went 21 minutes. What is he gonna have? 15 minutes of ground control? He's gonna have 20 minutes of ground control. Is he gonna double the ground control and still win the fight? Maybe not. Maybe he could double the ground control and in the fifth round still get knocked out. Right? That's the problem, is that you're gonna have to stand with this guy. And in first, second, third, or fourth or fifth round, Alex Pereira, that was his first time in the fifth round in MMA. And he shows you that he could finish a fight in the fifth round. Not only finish a fight, but finish a champion, right? A dominant champion for 3 years, right? But let me know your opinion of this story. It seems like I'm super biased. I mean, Alex Pereira is 3-0 versus Israel Adesanya for a reason. Maybe he just has Israel Adesanya's number, right? That, even if Israel goes into this fight and think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just wrestle him for 4 rounds, I think it takes a little bit more away from Israel Adesanya game plan than it does Alex Pereira. I really do, because I don't think it'll help Israel Adesanya striking later on in the fight. When you're trying to shoot for takedowns, trying to take this huge, gigantic man, Alex Pereira, down. You don't get him down. He catches you with a left hook. You're hurt. And now you can't strike back because you spend so much of your energy trying to wrestle him. But let me know your opinion of this fight. Who do you think is going to win, right? Whether it's point fighting, whether it's wrestling, who's going to win the fight? You play to win the game, right? I have Alex Pereira. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about Henry Triple C Cejudo, the number 1 contender in the bantamweight division, gives Israel Adesanya 3 important pointers to defeat Alex Pereira. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.